Welcome to another episode of Art and Soul. This episode is titled I Can Be the Change, featuring Aisha Jackson and Anthony Wayne. Help our community grow by subscribing to this YouTube channel, sharing and liking this episode, and following the Art and Soul podcast on Instagram and TikTok. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Art and Soul, where we explore the intersection of making art and spirituality. Now, y'all know I start every episode with a mantra, our centering practice. And today's mantra, our affirmation is, I can be the change. Again, the mantra is, I can be the change. So no matter where you are, take a deep centering breath in through the nose, and then back out through the mouth. And just sit with that. I can be the change. I am so happy to have my sister and my brother on this show because they embody that mantra to the fullest extent. Aisha Jackson and Anthony Wayne. Hey. How are y'all doing?
Hey, Matthew.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so blessed to have both of you here. Outside of being excellent performers and people that I've reached out to and talked to when I needed support and just guidance, you're also change makers in this field that can be a lot of things outside of the beautiful magic that people see when they come see us and perform.
Yeah.
And y'all are such beautiful voices in advocating for change and making space for different lived experiences, because not only do you honor the humanity of the marginalized people you're trying to represent, but you also really humbly and gracefully call in people on the other side of the fence that are making these decisions that are just so rooted in systemic issues by making them feel like they're called into the conversation and not called out, which is a tricky, nuanced thing to do. And I just want to thank you for taking on that work, because it takes a lot of bravery.
Yeah.
A lot of bravery.
Well, you do the same, so thank you as well.
I do it because I get to be around people like you, and I can lean on you when I have to make a hard choice or make a decision, or I just watch y'all. I can be like, okay, this might have been a really tricky conversation to have with this producer, but I know that Aisha is out there advocating for change, and I know that Anthony's out there advocating for change. I'm not alone in this.
No.
And what happens is when you get into these rooms where you feel like not just being Black as a minority, but being the singular voice for change, you're a minority, you can feel like nobody else is having these hard conversations.
Yeah, but also I think it takes representation. It takes seeing someone else speak up in these spaces in a way that is humble and gracious, but also calling you in. And I think after the pandemic, especially, I was I want to show up in these spaces 100% me, and I want to make sure that I use my voice. I sang, but also use my voice and my presence and power in these spaces to speak up for change. And I think we're that representation for people sometimes. They need to see it done in a way before they find the courage to do it themselves.
Yeah, I think it's really more about, in addition to that, understanding the root of why. When you understand the why and you understand, I think that's why people are like, well, why me? Because I've been through that experience of why me? Who's going to listen to me? But I think when you understand the why and you understand the mission of what you're doing, and the people that will be inspired, and the reason why you're doing it, and less of you, but more of the mission, then I think that's when you're really understanding of, this is what I need to do. It's a calling on your life or for the mission, if you will, to just make sure you understand why you're doing what you're doing, and then when you see the results, and when you see people come on board who actually believe in the mission of what you're doing, it's actually inspiring, because then you don't feel alone. You feel like you're with others that are actually going to help take you to the next level. I call it the promised land.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what it is that we're all coming together to do something to get to a goal.
Right.
And it's like a show at the end of the day. You know, we're all in the room trying to create the star, which is the show. And so opening night is the promised land. And you believe in it so much. And you're doing all the work because you all are on the same page to get there. And I think in the world, if we're in the same page to do it, then I think it could come to fruition with the mission.
And it's not about us, it's about the people who come up behind us. So like I speak up in that space so that my little sis, when she gets in the room, she doesn't have to because it's already there, you know? So it's also about that.
Yeah.
But I also want to call into this room and put this in this room, specifically with you two, is I love the idea of opening the door for people behind us, but there is something so isolating in those moments where it's only you speaking. I've had many moments where it's just been me.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one that will speak to something, and I know that everyone in the room appreciates it.
Yeah.
And they might say something
Later.
afterwards.
But they quiet when you talking. When you talking in the space to the people, to the powers that be.
Yeah, right. And it's
everybody
like,
quiet, and then they come up to you after
they're
and be like,
like,
"Thank you for doing that."
Thank you for doing that. But you first.
Yep.
And I'm, okay.
But even in the moment of you saying it and speaking this thing out, like you just feel like you're out on this ledge. No one really joins in, and it can be terrifying.
Well, good.
It's empowering.
It's your journey.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
If
amen.
everybody was called, then everybody would be doing it. So it takes somebody to step out there, and for somebody to be open to the voice that's coming through, so you can be the vessel.
Yeah.
And the more that you sit and hear it, it's what you're supposed to hear. It's about, are you going to take the action?
And what I love about what you just said, because that's what I was going to follow up with the point is, but I'm happy that y'all said it, because that's why y'all are here, because y'all are my people, is that it should be scary. It's not going to feel comfortable, right? People feel like speaking out or standing up for change because it's this idea of like something that is positive, that like you're gonna feel good while you're doing it, but there is a doing it while you're afraid.
Yeah, do it afraid.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But that's a really hard concept to get. And so when I'm looking directly to our audience now. So if you find yourself in this situation and you're afraid, that doesn't mean that you're not right.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're not walking in the right direction, because I
Yeah.
think that we have confused comfort with being right. That something will feel comfortable when
Right.
it's right, but sometimes it will be terrifying and it will be hard, and it might cost you some things in the moment, but not in the grand scheme of everything.
Right. And like a temporary discomfort for the promised land is like,
Queen.
it's worth it. But you'll also feel empowered. Yes, it'll be scary, but once you do it, like I walk out of those spaces feeling like, oh, I did that. Or like, ooh, I deposited some sort of change, even if it's just within my immediate community, or even if it's just one person that comes up to me and is like, thank you for saying that, or thank you, you know, that counts, because then you don't know how like that affects that person and how they'll move forward in their next space or in their relationship with artists or people, period. Like, you never know the effect that you're making by walking in your light, in your power, in your calling, and by using your unique voice. It also takes that, like, you know, there are people that are gonna listen to me that might not listen to you, or there are people that are gonna listen to you that might not listen to the person next to you. So why miss the opportunity to create change?
Yeah, the more that we understand the purpose, the more we can continue to walk in our power.
Come on.
And it's hearing you speak is just kind of cool, because it reaffirms to me the mission of understanding what God, Spirit, Universe, whatever you want to believe, comes through you to come to fruition. I used this term from doing a chorus line when I did it some time ago. These words always stuck with me from Margaret Hamlish. Just said, the gift was ours to borrow. And so it's for us to continue to using what we have for the mission, for the purpose. There are people that have come before us that were living in theirs so that we can live in ours, so that others can live in theirs.
That part.
And it's happening all the time. And so it's really exciting, which is why Black Broadway Men was created. For us to understand that we need to create unity by finding strength and embracing the legacy of those that have come before us, because we are the legacy for those that come after us. So unity, strength, and legacy are the principles of what we stand on. And so the more that we use and understand that root, the more we can continue to be the vessel.
Yeah. And we got to celebrate that legacy too.
Aisha.
Black excellence on Broadway.
But
That's what it is. It's like paving, like these people paved the way for us.
For sure.
You know.
Which is a natural, organic transition to the next part of the conversation, where I want to talk about your individual initiatives, right? The things that you have done yourself to make sure that we not only honor the people that came before us, but have a clear pathway and also provide resources to the people that come behind us to see all of these amazing people that have come before us. So I'm gonna start with you, Aisha, and then I'm gonna jump to you, Anthony. What have you been working on to do that?
Well, Love and Light Productions.
Yes, Love and Light Productions.
Love and Light Productions. We're building that business and that production company because I have found joy recently in producing works and concerts for my loved ones, for my friends, for my Broadway community, specifically my Black Broadway community, and making sure that I create spaces where we're not only on stage but behind the scenes. You know, where with the videographer, the photographer, the stage manager, this person, that the MD, like that we have a band that is 50% female, that we have ASL representation in the space so that we can provide more access. And so like Love and Light Productions for me is about representation, accessibility, and community. But I recently did our inaugural Black History Month concert because I wanted to create a space for us and by us to celebrate the legacy of Black artists and performers that have come before us and have like paved the way for us to be on the great white way. And without them, you know, we wouldn't be in these rooms, you know, you wouldn't be the choreographer for Preacher's Wife without these people that have opened the doors for us. And so we took that night to honor Chuck Cooper and LaShawns and Andre DeShields and all of these different greats that have come along the way to say thank you for opening the door. And it was just so beautiful to build a space that was so full of joy and gratitude and love and like in excellence. And I hope to expand that. I want it to be a full production, okay?
Yes.
We want choreography represented. We want Black Broadway musicians represented. We want Black Broadway stage managers, graphic designers, like all the, across the board. So it started off as a concert, but I want it to continue to expand to just celebrate the legacy that we get to walk in by just saying thank you. So that's what we did. That's what we're doing. And we're also working on, I'm working on some mentorship programs just because I think representation matters, and that's what it's called. But so that people, especially people of color and Black young people in many different industries can see themselves represented. Because I think it's important to see someone who is doing that, to be like, oh, that's possible for me, or that's a possible career path. And so I want that mentorship program to go across, like, you know, I know people that work for communications at the White House and that have their own, they're CEOs of their own businesses and things. And I want young people, elementary, middle school, high school, college, to be able to see it and be like, oh, what does Matthew Johnson do? Oh, cool. Oh, well, can I like work with him for a semester and talk to him about what he does? And then they get to see like, oh, these are all the opportunities that are available to me. So those are two things that I'm working on.
Absolutely beautiful. And I like that so much of what you're working on stems from your own lived experience and things that you've done naturally, like you playing Princess Anna and being a Black woman playing that role on Broadway was a huge breakthrough for so many people, specifically young Black girls, to see the musical Frozen and to see you.
To see their favorite musical and their favorite princess,
and a Black
but to
woman
see
playing
a brown skinned girl up there, you know, fully embodying their favorite princess. It was very impactful, and to hear like the mommy, she looks like me from the audience members and things like that, that broke me down. And it's just, it's that specific thing of like walking in your calling. Like whenever I would go on, I would be like, somebody in the audience today needs to see me do this. So no matter how I'm feeling, because you know being a standby is tough, but I'm like, no matter how I'm feeling today, I'm gonna show up for that person, even if it's just one person.
But what I love about you then though, and the seed was probably already planted in you, you said, let me take it this step further. Now that I've had that lived experience and seeing how these young girls have responded to me, I should make a mentorship program.
Yes.
Right? You took it that next step.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm just so in awe of you and just who you are and your presence and how you continually show up in all rooms.
Thank you.
So now we're going to shift it to my brother Anthony Wayne and talk about the genesis of Black Broadway.
Thank you, Bo.
So let's talk about the genesis of Black Broadway Men.
Well, you know, and thank you for that. I think it starts from years ago. It starts from when you're a kid, specifically for young Black men. And being a Black man myself, it initially started for me, 5 years old, Norfolk, Virginia, in my living room, kicking my leg like Adrian Bailey, singing "Can You Feel a Brand New Day," watching The Wiz on my VHS. You know what I mean? Yes. Not to age myself, thank you. But I'm saying,
y'all know what a VHS is.
I'm just saying. But it's like I remember that, and during that time, I remember feeling like I was on Broadway, feeling like I was, a part of something that I couldn't touch yet, but I was already there. And as my career evolved and as things happened and shows came into my life, and I found myself with my Broadway debut and Anything Goes, surrounded by these incredible folk, like Sutton Foster and Joel Grey and just a bunch, Adam Godley, and just a bunch of incredible actors that I was just learning from and understanding that I'm in a white suit, a white sailor suit, tap dancing on the Tony Awards. And my mother's out there for the first time watching me and giving me, the joy of seeing her face out there. But there's another side of it where you start to see that she's the only Black woman in the orchestra. I'm the only Black man on the stage. Oh my goodness. I'm free, but I don't understand that I'm not equal. However, I'm not thinking about that when I'm a kid. I'm thinking about being on stage and doing what I love to do with these people, wherever it is, whoever I'm with, children's theaters in Norfolk, Virginia, or the Government School for the Arts, or Shenandoah, where I went to college. It was like, oh my goodness, I'm learning all these things, but I didn't know that they were helping me become who I'm supposed to be. I digress. So I'm in these shows. I'm in Pippin, or I'm in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and I'm still the only Black man in the room, or in the dressing room, or in the space, and nobody understands how I feel. But it's not about how you feel, it's about what you need to do to get the job done. And it's a joy to be there. And there were young men that come to me now that say, oh, I've seen you on the Tony Awards on YouTube or what have you. And it becomes, wow. At that point, I think to myself, wow, I was doing something at that time so that people could see and be inspired to do other things.
Representation.
And I wasn't thinking about it in the moment.
Yeah.
So, long story short, I come to New York and I start doing my thing and producing and feeling like I was alone, but I didn't have community. And so I wasn't able to connect with other Black men in theater because we're only together through competition.
True.
And
because there's that one Black role in that
we're
ensemble,
all in
and you're there, and I'm like, we got our one Black guy.
There's only one Black guy in most Broadway shows.
That's true.
And so you find yourself fighting for that one or two one first or second position, and you don't really get to talk to each other or build that space. And then it also becomes, when I was younger, even other younger men, you don't feel comfortable speaking to other Black men because you didn't have a Black male in the home, or you didn't have a big brother, or people wanted something from you, which was in a sexual nature or something like that.
Or, if you have a queer identity and you do have brothers and you're the only gay one, like me, right? Like there's always something that kind of isolates you from other black men. I know what you mean.
So you become kind of like scared to speak up and be your full self. And the only way you can be your full self is find that freedom in that space on stage, as opposed to building that communication with other black men. So 2020, or I guess 2019, I found myself being surrounded by other men that I appreciate and respect, like Norm Lewis and like Ken Page, like Adrian Bailey, like, you know, just incredible men that have actually come into my life and become mentors to me. And so I decided to start Black Broadway Men with a group of other black men that I've known, and we connected and we began to have conversations about what do we need? What do we want? Who are we? And so the principles of unity, strength, and legacy came from those conversations. And so I'm grateful to have had the founding members come together to discuss all these things and to now share it with the world so that we can have a mentorship program. We can have a playwriting initiative, which you were a part of. We can have, you know, mixers where we come together and communicate and build that community. So. Yeah.
Incredible.
Thanks.
And again, I want to harken back to you saw a need or a necessity in your own life and didn't just feel that necessity for yourself. You said, how can I then make this resource available to anyone else who needs it? You didn't just go build community with other Black Broadway men. You said, no, I'm going to start an organization for any Black Broadway man who feels isolated like I do and needs a place to come in and have community. Which again, I want to take us back to our centering mantra and affirmation. I can be the change. I can be the change. As I sit here with you, I'm thinking of all the amazing individual gifts that you both have. And in a career where people really want to put you in a very specific box, how do you navigate the multi-hyphenatedness?
I think it's important to just show up as you are, to speak what it is that you want to be. And that's something that I've been leaning into more because I want to direct and I want to produce and I want to, you know, and so I just make sure that those words come out of my mouth and that I believe it internally and that I take action planting these seeds so that I can bloom into that. But it also doesn't discount me as a singer or discount me as a sister or an aunt or, you know, like whatever, all these titles that we have. So yeah, I just show up as myself. And like when I am a performer, I'm being paid to be a performer. I'm sitting there having conversations with the director. Like, so actually, are we married to this being set up like this? And they're like, okay, what are your ideas? And I'm like, okay, so I was envisioning, but I'm practicing in a safe space with someone whose expertise is what I desire to grow in. You know, I'm having those conversations with them like, okay, how does this work? Or how do you direct? Or how do we, and then we go, and then they're like, you want to direct, huh? And I'm like, yes, I do. But, you know, I'm showing up in that space, and then they know that. And so then as they're moving forward, they can also add director next to, you know, gifted performer, singer, dancer, da-da-da-da-da. And then I'm having these conversations about the concerts that I want to produce, and I'm talking to somebody about directing, but also telling them, oh yeah, and I'm producing this. And then they're like, oh, well, do you need sponsors? And I was like, yeah. So let's talk. You know, but it's about like speaking those words in these conversations that you're having so that you're constantly letting other people know, oh, I do many things. And so you just let me know what box you need me to check that day.
Yeah, exactly.
I can check them all.
And being brave enough to own all that power. Because I feel like specifically how all three of us started, we started as performers. And there's a very true and honest practice of reminding performers that they are in the place that they are and the people behind the table are in the places that they are, right? So it's even in our industry, don't call us, we'll call you. Right? This idea that you have no autonomy of even where you could think that you could possibly be in a role. Like, no, we'll decide where you be, right? And so when you grow up with that mentality and you go through all of these different moments in your career, it's a true unlearning to introduce yourself as the full totality of you, right? To say that I can also be this and I can also be that, because you've been so trained that like, no, you're a performer, you're this. And also I think it's just easier in human society, not just in the world of performance, to categorize things, right? To be like, because you're a phenomenal singer, Aisha. Literally, you know this because your Instagram tag, her Instagram tag is gifted to sing, so she knows that is what she does, and she does it very, very, very well.
I do.
But you also do other things, right? And I think for society, it's just a quick thing to be like, oh, that's a singer, right? Or, oh, that's a this, right? And to own the full totality of you and to be brave enough to step into these spaces that are so clear that they want you to be a specific thing and say that I'm more than that requires bravery.
Yeah, I think I also have, in the same vein of like representation, I think I grew up seeing my brother occupy these spaces as a multi-hyphenate, seeing my mom, my father, like I just have had really great role models that don't limit themselves in these spaces, sometimes like society wants us to. And so I think that's like a testament to my environment growing up, but also like asking you shall receive. So like if you want to be viewed as the director or this or that in those spaces, you got to open up your mouth and you have to like ask for the opportunity. All they can say is no, and then you go to the next thing. But yeah, it's
and
just
get over this idea that you're annoying, or that like you sending that email asking might have sent them in the wrong direction to now they're like annoyed that you emailed them asking for an opportunity. You got to get past that because those aren't your people. Like,
even if they say no to this opportunity, you don't know what you asking and bringing that to their their attention that you want this thing. It's like, oh, okay, I can't have you for this, but I'm gonna think about that so that the next thing I'm planning, maybe you can be involved in the way that you want to be.
Right,
You know?
and Anthony, you've definitely done this. Like you've developed multiple shows. You're like, I don't think multi-hyphenate even applies to you. You're like this supernova that does everything. And it's always been this centering practice of also legacy. So like what you did for Sylvester and like what you do with like the Motown Christmas like shows that you do, is always centering us back into legacy. But you create, I don't even know what to say about it. It's just like so uniquely you, but I don't know a lot of people that are creating in so many different ways who also happen to be a performer and a community builder, which you are. Like, how do you even begin to describe yourself in a room when people are like, Anthony Wayne, who are you?
What do you do? Everything.
Right? Like, no, but you really do all of those things.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you. I think, to be honest, for me, it's about education and balance. There were a lot of times that I was doing 4 things at the same time, and I was giving 25% to all the 4 things, and I wasn't completing them, and I was exhausted. And those 4 things had to do with other people and not me. None of them included me. And so I found myself running really fast but not getting anywhere, screaming but not being heard, trying to get to a point where I was trying to finish something. I had all these things going on, but I wasn't happy and I wasn't joyous. I was creating other space for other people to be joyous when I was in a space of frustration and trying to finish and can't. So to hear you say that is really beautiful to me. But I remember working hard and creating Mighty Real, a Fabulous Slyvester Musical, and doing the Soulful Christmas shows and the Phyllis Hyman musical, and just all those things that I was creating with my producing partner at the time. And mind you, I was in Pippin at the time. I was on Broadway doing shows, doing Once on This Island, doing Tootsie, running these things and trying to make it happen, but also trying to figure out how I was going to take care of myself. And so taking care of myself became kind of, I had to figure out what the balance was. So there was on-the-job training of educating myself, but then there was the part of trying to figure out how was I going to make it work? So over time, that's what happened. The balance started to, me understanding, even my partner now, me understanding that I have to make space for this person. I have to make space for myself. I have to make space for Black Broadway men. I have to make space for this show that this director wants to happen, because none of these things that you're doing care about each other.
No, they think that their thing is the...
Yeah, none of them care about each other. Mighty Real doesn't care about if I'm in this Broadway show. This Broadway show doesn't care if I'm trying to do Black Broadway men. None of them care about each other, but I care about them all. So if I make the time to figure out what the balance is for them all, as well as taking care of myself, then it will happen. But it will happen in a way that that works for me, that I can be my full self. So, and there are times, even right now, I know that this time was for me to give 100% of myself to you and to her and to this moment, because I'm all about creating moments and memories in my life now. I'm 42. So there are times, thank you. And I don't mind speaking my age, because I really think it's a testament to the career and the history of who we are. I love creating moments and memories, and I think that they're so fleeting. And so if you understand what it is and live in it, then you can actually breathe it and it can be. And I also, and I tell my partner this too, I want to live free, love hard, and laugh loud for the rest of my life. Because so much of my life has been about the next show and the next audition, and am I not good enough? Why am I not making this? And then you have to stop. It gets to a point, like there was a point where I was really depressed and sad, and I didn't want to do any of it, because I had to make time for me. And when you do that, you begin to open yourself up. And the key of it for me, to be honest, is learning to love myself, as opposed to learning to need and be validated for what people love about me. For what I do, for how high I can kick my leg, for how high I can sing, for, you know, even if it's an intimate thing, how much we're going to enjoy each other, or, you know, who I'm gonna make space for. And the more that I open myself up to loving the good parts, the bad parts, the sad parts, the hurtful parts, the exciting parts, and you know, it was like, wow, there was space for me. And then now, so I take care of me first, and then you.
That's your first
priority. Because I want to take care
baby.
of you. I want to take care of you too, but I also want to take care of the world. So, yeah, it's a balance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. And you know what's so hard for people to hear, and I think because so many people aspire to get to the levels in which we are, right? There's so many people who will never come close to doing a Broadway musical, but have always dreamed of doing a Broadway musical. So even hearing you share that beautiful testimony, they for some reason think, well, when I get there, it will be different. But what they don't understand, that this industry will give you awards. This industry sometimes will give you a lot of money.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, right? And this industry will prop you up and give you visibility, but this industry will not heal you. It will not. And I think so many of us run from these traumatic homes, or these situations where we're not really loved or seen. I know I did. Thinking that, oh, once I hit a certain levels of success, I'm gonna feel better. Or these things will be, I will feel healed in this scenario. Right, but you don't feel healed. You actually become more depressed. If anything, it magnifies the parts of you that aren't healed, because you have to realize that your dream job is a job. Your dream job is a job, and at the end of the day, the job cares about the product. It don't care about you. And until you get to a point to where you can love you and love the essence of you, and love making art because it just makes you happy, whether you're in a community theater in Louisville, Texas, where I'm from, or if you're on Broadway, you'll be centered in that and you'll find joy. But a lot of people aspire to become famous, or they put a goal, whether it has to do with entertainment or not. You say, oh, once I reach that level in this company and I go from this to making partner, I'm gonna be happy. You're not. You're not, until you heal that part of you that can just be okay with being you and knowing you and taking care of you.
Yeah, you know, there's another part of it for me where I always kind of take it back to either Chorus Line or The Wiz. Those are the two for me. I remember watching The Wiz as a kid, and something always stuck with me, and it means even more to me now, and it was what Lena Horne said at the end
I didn't know what you were about to say.
Favorite part.
Yep.
She says, home is a place we all must have to find, child. Home is knowing your mind, knowing your heart, knowing your courage. If we know ourselves, we're always home anywhere. And that part always gets me, because you hear how passionate she is about when she's saying it. And you just believe, if you just believe in yourself, come on, Lord.
You know.
Sing it, Aisha. You're gifted to sing, honey.
But I'm saying, if you continue to believe in yourself, and I think that's why we're talking about what we're trying to do and what others are doing, even Black Theater United or
BTC.
Broadway Advocacy Coalition.
BAC.
You know,
Black women on
you have Black
Broadway.
women on Broadway. You have these people coming together because we believe in the mission of what we're doing. Even as we celebrate Hinton Battle, even as we celebrate these titans that have gone on, their legacy still lives through us because they believed in themselves. And we are people who have, we still are part of their legacy. We are part of what they've left behind because the gift was ours to borrow. And so now we do the same for others. So it's exciting to be able to do that and live that. And if you live it every day for yourself and find the home within yourself, then that's the healing part. That's the part that's spiritual. That's the part that nobody can take away. That's the part that lives bright within you, that's so individual. And I see it as a canvas. The canvas is a masterpiece. And each of us in this world have light within us and share a color. And the color that you share in the masterpiece of this life is brilliant. And it may go out and it may come back, but whatever it is, it's
might
yours.
change colors and it
It
might
can change colors.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that.
the hue may change, but it's yours.
Yeah.
And nobody else will ever shine your light or be your color.
It's your contribution.
Come on.
Specific to only you.
Yeah, so share it and be out there, but know it. Know who your light is and what it brings.
Right.
Amen. And what I love so much about that moment, because immediately as you were about to say it, I knew what you were talking about at the end of the whiz, because there's two parts to it. You can't believe in yourself unless you know yourself.
Come on.
You have to investigate what makes you special, what makes you different, and you literally have to come home to oneself to do that. Like, and facing yourself is hard, especially if you have a lot of different things that you haven't really faced, a lot of things that have happened in your past, or a lot of things that, like, you know, are just everyday, I think, things that everyone just kind of like deals with and growing and developing. But Jennifer Lewis beautifully says, I don't know if you ever get to a place to where you love yourself, but in order to make it through this life, you got to get to a place to where you at least like yourself. Oh, that speaks to me, right? Because we're probably never gonna get it perfect.
Right.
But if we can get to a place where we can at least come home to ourselves enough to where we like ourselves, we can advocate for ourselves and then believe in ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, that speaks to me.
Yeah, and it's that, like, if you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect others to, you know?
Which is why we're talking about, okay, yes, I believe I'm a director. Yes, I believe I'm a producer. I believe I'm a star. I believe I'm a singer. You know,
I believe I'm a change maker.
Yeah, I believe I'm a change maker. You believe these things, but when you were a kid, you believed in yourself too, but you were just kind of living in the moment, and you didn't know exactly how it was going to come to fruition. However, there are others who see you before you see yourself, and I think that's what it's about too. Surrounding yourself with people that are going to see probably more in you than you see for yourself, or believe in the mission and will have the skills to help you get the structure to where you need to go.
And uplift you as you're trying to figure it out, or uplift you once you've figured it out and help you develop the tools and skills that you need to walk in your purpose, to walk in your calling, to walk in your unique gifts.
Exactly. Like even when we were doing the playwriting initiative with Black Broadway Men, I knew that when I was talking to you and when we were having conversation about you directing Chris Eli's Black's play, it was like, oh, of course. The way you spoke about it and the way you talked about your determination about what you believed in the piece and you believed in him because you believe in yourself, and it was just kismet. And so thank you for that. And so now he's going on to do the things he's doing, but it's a testament that he's taken everything that was given to believe in himself from those who believed in him too, you know?
Yeah, because I don't want to, thank you for everything that you said, because I also don't want to take away from how important it is to be validated by others. And that's what you're talking about, right? For other people to see it and like to lift you up and to like make sure that you're moving in the right direction by just giving you an encouraging word. One of my favorite mantra is, when I see good, I acknowledge it out loud. So when I see someone do something good, I acknowledge it out loud, because that just lets people know to keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like when I say come home to oneself, I don't mean that we live in a world that isn't dependent on validation of others, but if you can come home to yourself enough, when those periods where you don't get any validation come.
Yeah, and you are your validation. You are your affirmation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
have to encourage yourself.
Yeah.
You started loud.
I just started low. I did.
Have to speak victory
Right.
during the test.
Come on.
No matter how you feel.
Yes.
Speak a word and you will be healed. Speak over yourself. Encourage yourself in the Lord. But no, you do. Words of affirmation are so huge for me. Like to the point, like I have them on my dressing room station. I have them in my phone. I have them on my mirror at home, because it's very important to speak over yourself these words of life. I've had times where I've doubted myself so fiercely after asking to be put in these places, in these rooms.
That's
you know,
where
sometimes
pause, rewind, because that is something people need to hear. That you can ask for something and still
be afraid.
Yes.
Yeah. And I do it a lot to myself. I find myself like putting myself out there, like, yeah, I'm here. I could do this. What you need? And then I show, and I'm like, yeah. And then I get it, and then I get in the room, and I'm like, girl, you. Oh shit. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's time for you to like show, what you have, and it can still be fearful, and you do it afraid, but I speak those words over myself, like, okay, I am capable. You're here for a reason. You're needed in this space. God has put you in this space for a reason. So like, just show up and do your part so that God can, do God's part. But like, you have to do the work, and you got to show up fully and prepare and do all the things. But yeah, words of affirmation, they have power. They have so much power. They can alter your perspective. They can give you that extra jolt that you need. They can eradicate fear and doubt, or at least give you enough strength to press through that and still show up.
Yeah, I think that sense of knowing yourself and being able to believe in yourself is powerful. I think it's another level of it too, when you have your discernment of those you deem worthy of access to you. I think that's another level of it too.
Yeah.
Because now when you have those around you that are actually going to uplift and support you and pour into
Speak
you,
into you.
it's up to you to understand who's going to make your light brighter, make it dim, or want to blow it out.
Yeah.
Who are those people?
Yeah.
And how close do you have them to you?
Correct.
And why? And it's
Correct.
also about taking accountability to understanding that you've allowed them that close to you.
You've allowed them access. You've given them access.
Or, and knowing that you can also create the healthy boundaries that you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't have to tell them what those boundaries are. But if you create them and you have the people close to you who are actually going to pour into you and uplift you, it don't even need to be a whole bunch of people. Because honestly, I have probably like 2 or 3 real close friends that are like family, But of course, you need others in the circle. And I think that's why even with the nonprofit organizations we're trying to build communities so you have access to others that are going to pour into you, and building the space so that you don't feel like you don't have access to communicate.
Right.
Well,
that's a really hard learning curve for a lot of people, that spirit of discernment, because just in culture in general, even outside of our business, people don't lead off with their truest version of themselves. They usually lead off with the most palatable version of themselves that they think is going to be the most palatable to you. So like me, I've been very clear that I really care about DEI and doing different types of rehearsal rooms. And so when people interview with me, they usually lead off with that, right? Because they know that that is going to attract me to a project or bring me in. And then I realize that maybe they're really not aligned with that value in the way that they think they are, but they knew that's a way to
get you.
Right, exactly.
involved.
So like what I have learned is, and I'm gonna take it back to earlier in the conversation where I said, this business will give you a lot of things, but it will not heal you. I grew up in a household where I felt extremely isolated, even though I had a lot of different siblings, and I grew up in a big household. I always felt alone and separate, and I thought that I would get to the levels that I am now, and everyone would be like my best friend, and they would fill that void. They'd be that space, because we all love Broadway, right? So that means we're family, right? Like, but that's what you think, right?
Yes.
And I realized that I just had to get to a place that I was okay with being with me, loving me, understanding me, and then I could find people who actually share my values and I could be close to. But it was a lot of really hard, icky relationships that I got into just for the need of wanting community with people who did not share my values. And I was greatly disappointed, but I learned that was because of my own expectation that I gave and assigned this person for my need to have them close to me. And it gets really tricky when these people have awards or access, right? When it's someone that you've looked up to and they're a Tony winner, or they're, this producer that just won 15 Tony Awards for this, right? And then so you're like, oh my God, you're my person. Oh, maybe your values don't align with me.
No.
And that is okay. And that doesn't even make you a bad person.
No.
You're just not for me.
You're just not my person.
Yeah, it's just not for me.
Or
And
for
that's
this
hard.
particular moment.
Yeah, and that's hard when you're like a people pleaser and you're seeking community and you just want to be loved, but like you have to come home to oneself, believe in yourself, and know that like you may not fit into every room, but if you're proudly yourself and fully yourself, your people will find you.
Yeah, because people are going to be people, and we can't control people. We can only control how we feel and what we can do to take care of ourselves around people. I think that's why the pandemic was so, was such a shift for everybody, because it made everybody be by themselves. It made everybody be home by yourself or with your partner, whomever, but it made you figure out what that life is like by yourself and understand the greatness of you by yourself. And I think that's why even early in the conversation, when something's called on you to do, or you get a vision of something to do, then it's just about you. Are you going to move on it, or are you going to just let it go? Because it may be called to someone else to do. It's not going to be done the way you do it, but it may happen in another form or fashion. So it's just about you understanding and listening to God, God, universe, whatever you want to believe, to move. And if you have those skills of understanding how to move and how to lead, then it can all happen. Anything is possible if you believe.
What spiritual practices, we talked about affirmations, but what other spiritual practices do you have in place in your life for you to guide yourself through not only the entertainment industry, but also just being a human?
Well, I pray anytime I step on the stage, before I step on the stage. Sometimes I even place a nice little covering over that theater space or that stage or that dressing room. Whenever I move into new spaces, I come in and call God into the space and to give me strength and power and love and joy to walk in this space and be who I am, but also be who God has called me to be. I make time to have a relationship with God, my own personal relationship with God, talking to God daily and studying what I believe to be a word from God. And I just make sure that whenever I'm using this gift or this gift or this gift, that I call God into the space to make sure that I'm using it in a way that glorifies the kingdom and what I've been called to do, and not self. Those are some things that I do. And surrounding myself with a community of people who are like-minded, who will uplift, who will pray with me, who will speak life, who will pour into me, to make sure that I'm walking on the path that is meant for me You know, I'm the only one who can walk on this path for me. Don't look to the left, don't look to the right. What are you supposed to be doing, you know? And don't compare yourself to other people's journey either, because that's not your journey, that's their journey.
Amen.
Yeah, and I constantly remind myself too that, like, I don't know if this is the same thing, but like when I don't get things or when I'm not called into spaces, that's not my blessing. That's somebody else's blessing. You know, that's someone else's blessing. That's someone else's calling. No matter how badly I wanted it, you know, you have to respect that that person is in that role because of what they'll specifically bring to it. You know, yeah.
What about you, Anthony?
Well, I was Norfolk, Virginia, raised Baptist, and so I really hold those values near and dear. You know, I really believe in God. I really believe in what was given with the gift here and here and here.
And here.
Yes, I got tight pants on today. But I really find myself grateful to be the vessel consistently in my life, not just on stage, but off stage. And I understand what that means. I feel it and I believe it, and I know that it's not about, I think that's what it is. I think the ego has to be removed in some type of way. We're all fabulous and we're all fantastic. But if you continue to pour into your ego, then there's no growth there. It's like shaking up a soda with the lid on it and there's no opening. But when it does, it explodes and you don't know how to control it. So I think it's more about you understanding yourself and having a centering of something. Like, for example, I know I have breathing techniques that I do before I go on stage. I know that in the space, in the rehearsal space, in the performance space, I make sure that I'm present, that God, universe, whatever you want to believe, is centered within me to tell the story, to come to life. And so I use that on a daily basis. And before I wake up, and when I wake up in the morning, when I go to bed, I also pray and I thank God for the day. I thank God for the experiences. I thank God for the understanding of what I was supposed to learn that day and the people I was supposed to touch, the places I was supposed to go, and excited for where I'm supposed to go tomorrow, if His will be done. And so I carry that on a daily basis. Yeah.
I have a thing in my calendar that pops up daily that says, have you done something kind for yourself and for someone else? So it's like a constant thing that I'm always thinking about, of how we can show up for ourselves and be gracious and kind and loving to ourselves, but also show up for others. Even if it's a stranger, you know.
Yeah.
People you love, people you don't know.
Like, if you have, I mean, there are times I wouldn't have that much money or would have that much cash on me, because a lot of us don't carry a lot of cash these days. Yeah. So I have like $2 on me and I'll see somebody on the train. I may not have it all, but I'll just probably give it to them. Why not? Or there was this guy who was dancing on the train. He was spinning around, and you can tell that he was really dancing as much as he could just to make what he could. And when I feel it, I feel like, you know, I'll hear something that says, give that to him, or give that food to that person, or do something like that. I think those gestures come back around to you in some way, shape, or form in life later.
Give and it will come back to you.
Yeah.
It's also like I tell my dad is a pastor, so I always tell him, like, the stage and like these rehearsal rooms and concerts and different things. I'm like, that's my pulpit. Like, that's my ministry.
Amen. It is.
And like, there are people also in those spaces that will never open the Bible, that will never pray, that will never come to church, that will never feel comfortable to be in these environments that we've built to be spiritual spaces sometimes. But when they encounter you, they should encounter that love and that light, you know? And so I try to think about that, being that for someone.
And what you beautifully articulated is, in another episode I did with Alfred Urey, I asked him what he think God is, and he said, I believe that God is the best parts of each and every one of us. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Right, so we might put him in the box of Jesus or Allah or like all these different boxes, but like really, It is the best part of each and every one of us.
Yeah.
And I see that in both of you. That's why I asked you both to be here. I am so thankful for all the ways that you show up, not just for me, but as the greater society. And I feel blessed that I live in a world where we can not only feel empowered to be change makers, but we have the resources and the facilities to do it because of the people who came before us. Like I like to say a lot that my mom was born before the Civil Rights Act in 1965 was actually passed. So she was born into a world in which she had no protections, where actually, you know, the South was segregated and Jim Crow laws were actually enforced to keep her separate. There was no federal law that said what was happening to her.
Right, it was wrong.
Yeah, right? And to think of that, and that's because people talk about slavery and racism like it's millions of generations away.
Like,
that was my
mom.
mother. Yeah, right, that was my mother.
Yeah.
And so for y'all to be so centered in who you are and also the legacy of those that came before us, and then already be thinking about the people that are coming behind us, thank you.
That's what it's about.
I love you, Aisha.
I love you.
I love you, Anthony.
Love you too, brother.
And I just want to take it back to the centering affirmation or mantra from the beginning of the show. I can be the change. So no matter how you're viewing this or listening to this, take a breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and sit with I can be the change.
Ashe.
Art has the power to bring people together. Art has the power to transcend language, and art has the power to heal. For those reasons alone, art is a spiritual practice, so make art everywhere. My name is Matthew Johnson Harris, and this was another episode of Art and Soul. See y'all soon.